Hello folks, today I'm going to be taking a look at Undaunted reinforcements from Osprey Games, a supplement for both North Africa and Normandy. Okay, so Undaunted reinforcements from Osprey Games. This is a chunky box. The original game is by David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin, who also did Undaunted Normandy and North Africa. This also contains a solo mode by David Turksey and David Digby. This is not a standalone game, unlike the others. I throw it over. Instead, what Reinforcements does is it brings aircraft and armour. So there was already vehicles in North Africa. There were none in Normandy. It was just an infantry game. So it adds some armour for Normandy, aircraft in North Africa, along with some new specialists for both as well, and some new rules and scenarios. So if I pop this open, oh my word. Inside you get 1, 2, 3 books, 2 sheets of cardstock with tokens, a diagram for this ultra deep expansion, which is mostly empty. And the reason it's mostly empty is if you have Normandy and North Africa, which you need at least one of them to be able to use this box, you can fit all of North Africa and Normandy and reinforcements in here. So you end up with one tidy package on your shelf. You get extra bags for tokens. We get our 4 new decks of cards for each of the factions involved. And we get these oversized cards, which are actually the AI decks. Okay, our 2 sheets then. Oh, they're already coming apart, so shows the punchboardness of them. Okay. So as you can see, we have infantry, so sapper, grenadier, submachine gun for the long-range desert group. We also have submachine gun, sniper and mechanic for the Italians. Both of these sheets have our vehicles, so Panzers, Panthers, Sherman Stuarts for the Allies. These little markers are for when you're setting up deployment. They're areas that vehicles cannot traverse. And these are mines. And there you just see the suppressed sides. Now, if I have one issue with these, it's the vehicles. The lovely artwork is well off center. So when I pop this out, that's what you're going to be playing with. It would have been nice to have the turret on the disc, and it's the same for all. Thankfully it says underneath who they are, so you're not having to try and identify something by a bit of hull and a barrel. It's just a little bit of a shame that these have drifted, because presumably they were supposed to be centre mass. But c'est la vie. Otherwise, the cardstock itself is, I want to say 2mm thick, and it's got that vinyl finish that you get to protect the cards. So it's good quality and good print, just sadly a little bit off center. Apart from the card, we have our 3 books. So you get a rulebook, and this contains, as you would expect, the rules. So first off, it explains the components for each of the factions and theatres of conflict. these are your new rules for Normandy. So adding vehicles, if you don't own North Africa and you're picking this up because you play Normandy, it obviously explains what you've been missing. Then we have mines, how they work, air support, bombing and grenade. Friendly fire, you can now accidentally mortar or grenade people in play, and joint operations. And then after that it just gets into the rest of the setup for Enemy Unknown, which is the new solo variant, which takes up most of the rulebook, it has to be said. But even then it's only 10 pages. So when you're playing through, each of the cards for your opposing faction has essentially an AI, and it goes into detail as to what you're doing with them. Then we have our terminology and finish off with difficulty settings. So that's quite interesting. If you find the AI is a bit too easy, you can try a harder mode to deal with them. And at the end we get our example of solo play. So there we are, 20 pages of rules. Quite concise. We then have, let's do the scenario book next. So Reinforcements contains 2 new campaigns, one for each theatre. And this has, let's skip past this part. This has your scenario set up for your standard 2-player game, for your new 4-player version, where you're playing teams, and then also the solo. So there are 4 scenarios for Normandy, 4 scenarios for North Africa, and each of them is presented in this way. And when you're playing solo, you can play as either nation. So you can play both the Allies and the Axis. So if you win in one direction, you can flip around, play in the other direction while you still have the board set up and see how you get on. Or alternatively, you can play through the full campaign and then come back. So there we go, a nice new chunky set of scenarios. If you already own one or both of the original games, then there is this solo book. So the solo book just contains the changes for the initial scenarios. So if you already own Normandy and North Africa, this is split into half. So the first half is all of the Normandy scenarios in solo form, and the second is all of the North African. Which for solo players means you've suddenly got 30-ish new scenarios to play on top of the 8 in the actual scenario book. So you can play both sides. It means you've got essentially 80 scenarios that you can play with before you have to start worrying about making up your own or doing anything else extra. Card-wise, we have, like I say, the 3 AI decks and the 4 reinforcement decks, I suppose you would call them. Okay, I won't go through them all, but I'll have a look at one of the Normandy and one of the North African reinforcement decks. So, as you can see, we have Riflemen, the new vehicles, so we've got the Stuart and Sherman, and a new leader. And I believe all of the card decks are set in a similar way. You have a new leader of some description along with the additional cards. The Italians then has this assault aircraft, so you can start to do bombing runs on Tobruk. We have our submachine gunner, our mechanic, and a sniper. And at the end we have a commando leader. This symbol, which is on both of the well, not both of the cards, but it's on a lot of the infantry cards. So if we pop around a rifleman, that's for the new grenade attack. So it can be launched at range, or it can be dropped essentially in the same square that you're in. Although then you do run the risk of exploding your friends. Taking a look at these larger cards, these are the same size as the vehicle cards from North Africa. So I'm not sure what card sleeve you will find for these. They are twice the size of a regular card, I think. No, they're not. They're an unusual size. 8 centimeters wide and about 12 centimeters. So as you can see, I split these off. Now we have a set of Italian, and this set contains our US and Germans. And it tells you when you go through exactly what you're going to be doing. So platoon guide, bolster randomly, then move to 2, perform a rifleman 3 action, perform a sniper 2 action, select machine gunner on board, find the most dangerous enemy, move the selected unit to a scouter tile closer to that enemy. So it leads you through step by step until you find a relevant maneuver or target that you can complete depending on what's on the table for you. So a ton of work has gone into building these AI decks to make the game playable, because it's the sort of strategic warfare game that you don't think an AI deck will be suitable for. Here we have our Italians. And it's the same sort of thing there. All of the cards, very good quality gloss finish on these, not linen, but nicely printed and a good level of detail. So I'm going to take a quick break and put everything into that box and see if it fits. Okay, I'm back and I'm all squared away. So if I pop this out, you can see this is our North African and Normandy tiles. We have the larger vehicle cards and AI cards, all the tokens and dice, and then the 4 sets of game cards. There's also these, which I assume are just dividers. So if I pop this out, Americans, Germans, means you're not having to foot around to see what side is what, which is nice. Everything's in and bagged. Not a huge amount of wiggle room on the Axis and Allies side there. I don't know if you'd be able to get them in if you were sleeving your cards. Doubtful on this side, possible on that side. So whether or not you have enough room, you'd have to see yourself. If I pop that on top, I can then take my Undaunted Normandy, Undaunted North Africa, and finally the reinforcement rulebooks, and they sit practically flush, and all that's left to do is pop on the cover, and that is now 3 game boxes reduced to 1, which is a lovely touch. So there we have it, the reinforcements for Normandy and North Africa, Undaunted from Osprey Games. If you like this game, this is a must buy, I have to say that. If you haven't played any of the Undaunted games, we have a Let's Play for North Africa on the site already, and we'll be doing some more with the reinforcements now I have them. So keep your eye out for that in future, but otherwise I'm going to move on. Alrighty, there we have it. Fantastic expansion. If you own both games, it's a no-brainer. Definitely pick it up. If you only own one of the supplements, it's a no-brainer. Definitely pick it up. It adds new scenarios, it adds new specialists and vehicles, It also adds those additional ways to play, so your 4-player and your solo mode, and backwards compatible for both of them. If you have been sitting looking at Undaunted thinking that might be a game for me, we already have a Let's Play up, and hopefully we'll be doing a few more for the reinforcements as well, showcasing both the solo and maybe the 4-player as well, if we can get the people around the table. But let me know what you think below. It's definitely one I think you should be looking at if you're interested in a light World War II war game. But until next time, bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.